Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for coming to the seminar theatre. My name is David Jordan. For those that don't know me, I'm the deputy editor of the Mover magazine, which I hope you all read from time to time. If you don't, I'll give you my card. You'll be able to find out where we are, how to read the magazine. Just for information, we're filming all the presentations, and they will be available on the Movers and Storers show website sometime within the next few days. So if you want to watch the seminar back, this one, or if you wanted to see some of the other seminars and couldn't make it, they'll all be on there, so you can watch them. That's something new. We're going to talk about technology in a minute. That's something new for 2022 as far as the show is concerned. Also, while we're talking about technology, the Mover magazine is now an electronic magazine. It used to be a paper one that you could actually get and smell, and it was all lovely and so on, but times change and it's now electronic. But one of the things that allows us to do, amongst many other things, is that we can have a search facility on there. We've got one there. If you just Google the Mover, it'll come up #1 on Google. Go to the website and you can search in a little search box there, and you can search for one of these seminars if you want to, or you can search for your company name. If you put your company name in there and search, if we've written anything at all about you in the last 12 years, I know I've written something about Michael's company, it will come up so you can see what we've written about you. Or if you want to know anything about any subjects at all involving the movers and storers, the moving and storage industry, Google it on there. You might get, that's a tremendous resource, the only one in the world like it. Truthfully, it is. Okay, so that's our contribution. That's the end of the commercial. But this session is all about technology. The moving industry, as you probably know, is one of the oldest professions in the world. It's not the oldest. I'm not going to tell you which one is. I think you probably already know that. Shaw Porters, I think, is the oldest company in the UK, oldest moving company in the UK. I went up to see them a few years ago. I think they were founded in 1498 or something like that. Pickford's is around 400 years old. So it's a very, very old industry. And really nothing much has changed. They did the same then as you do now. They moved people's goods from one place to another. Shaw Porters put things in barrels and rolled them along the ground, and then went on to hand carts and horse-drawn vehicles and things of that nature. And it went on like that. You know, the petrol engine came in, the diesel engine and so on. So the transport changed, but really fundamentally the job was the same. Until a few years ago when technology came along. Spurred on recently by COVID. You know, we all use things like Zoom now, which we probably didn't use very much before. People are doing electronic surveys now in the moving industry, which most people didn't do until then. You know, that spurred it on. That's something brand new. So things are changing very rapidly. And I think it's important, just as we had to change our magazine format from print to electronic, to keep an eye on these things and to make sure that your company is utilizing the latest technology that is available, because you need to stay competitive. And that's one way of doing it. So it's no good being an ostrich and living in the past. We've got to move with the times. So to talk about that, we have two speakers today who are eminently qualified to talk to us about some of the latest technology out there. They both run technology companies that cater for the removals and storage industry. Joshua Webb is CEO of Calculate, which is a volume calculator solution, I think is the word to use. He'll tell you about it. I don't know too much about it. It's a way of calculating, but cubing, as you say in the industry. Do that automatically. And Menno Martens, who's MD of Survey Plus, which is a virtual move consultancy. I don't know if anybody uses Survey Plus at the moment, but maybe something that you would like to inquire about. Both companies have stands in the show, so you can go and talk to them afterwards. So I'll stop waffling, and let's hear from Menno Martens from Survey Plus. Menno.
Come on, surely a little bit better than that. Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is a call out for Mr. T removals. Your presence is required in the competition area. You are on stage.
We'll try that again. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Menno. I'm the Managing Director of Survey Plus. For those of you who are not familiar with Survey Plus, we're a consultancy firm. We provide pre-move surveys to the moving industry, and we do that via video link to be exact. We're UK based. We employ 20 surveyors, stroke estimators, and we carry out approximately 8,000 video surveys per year. Our client base is largely UK based, but we also work across Europe, into Asia, and across the United States. And we're available for all your survey requirements 24/7. Now, I've been asked here today to talk to you about technology in the moving industry, but I have to admit that I'm not actually from any technological background, so I won't be able to unveil any of the latest gizmos or gadgets here today. Instead, I come from a removals background. I started in the late 1990s, and I thought I'd just talk to you a little bit about my experience, how I've seen the removals world evolve. And then towards the end of the presentation, we will talk a little bit about, websites. This presentation has a bit more of a sales spiel rather than operations, but I'll try to give you a broad flavor of everything. So, as I said, I started in 1998 to be exact. I was fresh out of university in Breda, the Netherlands, where I originate from. I didn't have a clue what to do next. So the company I was working, I did my dissertation at, which was that moving company. The owner asked me, he said, "Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do now?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Do you want to stick around?" "Yes, sure. Why not?" "Well, here are the keys. There is a van. Off you go." So I went out, started out on the vans for a few years, learned the job from the roots up, if you like. The company handled international moves, domestic moves, office and commercial, so it was a great experience to learn the trade inside out. I enjoyed the physical work, and I was even contemplating getting my HGV license, but the management decided sort of differently and pushed me more towards estimating, sales, project management. I've moved large hospitals, universities, or what have you. In 2001 I moved to London, courtesy of a university girlfriend I had at the time, and I joined Pickford's as a sales estimator, based in the Enfield office at the time. In 2008 I was promoted to become sales manager for Allied in the Gulf region. So I was based in Dubai, and I looked after the sales for Allied Pickford's, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Manama, Bahrain. So I did that for 6 years, and in 2014 it was, I came back to the UK and I rejoined Pickford's. This time to look after their international departments, so that's like the office-based sales function based in the Wembley office. Now, I've never had to move tea chests, never mind being on a horse and cart. But I mean, when I started, I do remember the trucks having analog tachograph discs. I remember paper job sheets, paper inventories, and I remember the completed job sheets then being faxed to another office, an overseas office, rather than being sent by email. Email had not yet been invented back then. Couriers were used, to send, the way bills, the customs forms, the pre-alerts, to the overseas office, again, rather than email. And in-home surveys, of course, were solely done by pen and paper. I had a Nokia 3310, and that surely was a few cameras short of being a smartphone. Now, a few years into the job, at Allied, there was a time when I joined Allied in Dubai. They already had like a handheld little computer, a PDA, or a Palm Pilot, what you may call it, which I thought was quite a breakthrough, because rather than walking around someone's home, having to write everything down, it was much quicker to just go tap 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 on the PDA. But that was only the start of it, because when you came back to the office, you could just synchronize your PDA with the move management system. So all the information that you took at the survey, the pre-move survey, was up there in the system for everybody who needed to be involved in a job to see. Just catching up with my slides, sorry. A few years after, iPads were introduced. So if the PDA was good, the iPad was even better, because with the iPad, of course, you didn't have to drag a big sales presenter with you and show the customer in their home, look, this is what our company is about, this is how we pack things, blah blah blah. You just sit there with your iPad and play them a PowerPoint or even a YouTube promotion video. So again, a big upgrade on pen and paper. Technology also made waves in the office, of course. The fax machine was no more, and its strange dialing tone, if you anyone remember the dialing tone of the fax? Anyone want to try an impression? That strange noise was replaced by the utter silence and quite deadly flurry of emails. People's inboxes flooded with emails. Lovely. But and I think even today that is still true. The photocopier, the scanner photocopier, it's still like the proud centerpiece in the office. It's still there. Its jams, still manage to cripple operations, even though everybody by now at least should be aspiring to be a paperless office. I don't know, but I guess sometimes it just makes sense, to print off an email or an attachment to an email, then scan it in, then take it back from your email and upload it into your move management system, right? Rather than just clicking download and attach directly. Well, I don't know, maybe some clouded judgment there, or it's just a subconscious need for the office gossip. That's why everybody still gathers around, the photocopier. So in today's world, where we are, and we now reached, websites. Sorry, I should have practiced on this. All right. Movie companies nowadays need to think very wisely about, their marketing, budgeting, how they spend, the budget. Because for the larger companies, the strategy always used to be, just advertise big in the yellow pages, attend, selected events, generally be out there, sponsor some events maybe, you get engaged with like, school sports events, etc., sponsor a local football club, what have you. And then brand awareness, word of mouth, and, the sheer presence of the vehicles out on the road, would do the rest, and phones would start ringing, inquiries would come in. But nowadays, customers, go online and they ask Google. Google, I'm moving from Devon to the West Midlands. Who do I use? Now, the thing with Google is that Google does not necessarily give people a straight answer, based on what would make sense geographically. And that is because it uses the analytics of the World Wide Web and, the amount of money that people spend to advertise their websites, in order to give some possible suggestions for people searching on a move from Devon to the West Midlands. So unless you have a highly optimized website and you spend a considerable amount with Google, chances are that even though you fit the geographical sort of criteria, a price comparison platform, i.e. your potential lead provider, will actually rank higher and therefore come up, first before your, website. So, top spot ranking and, therefore getting the first click. So it's a bit ironic, I guess, that you end up having to buy in leads and pay someone when, you could have, had that lead directly. So all the more reason, that if you have, a good brand awareness and your website is in good health, that, all those inquiries that you do receive through your website directly, are treated as absolute gold dust. Because it means that people come to you directly, they come to you for a reason, they sort of, in their mind, pre-qualified you and find you to be, suitable, meeting their criteria for the service that they need, that they're looking for. So, naturally, you have a much better chance of converting that particular job rather than one that you get from a lead provider where you're competing against 3 or 5 companies and, the customer has not necessarily any affiliation with anyone. Now, so I think everyone is quite aware that, the website should be in top shape and should be looked after. You can't have a website, that hasn't been updated since, 2006. But even then, even if your website does all it needs to do, you have to bear in mind that customers' inquiries, come in, theoretically can come in, 24/7. So outside office hours as well. So even if your website is good, you have like live chat available, and it's very easy for people, to click on your website, get connected to you on the telephone. What happens outside office hours? Your website, needs to be interactive. People are looking for something, they're out on a mission, and they won't stop until they've found what they're looking for. So if your website doesn't have anything to interact with, like for example a tool like Joshua's, where people can calculate how much storage space they need, or for example to be able to set up an appointment with ourselves for a video survey, the chances are that they will move on to the next company until they find something that actually helps them take the next step in the process. Now, in short, people are impatient. Everybody, I'm sure, can relate to that. People nowadays impatient and they want an answer here and now. Now, Joshua and I, we have tools, widgets. We can help you, with your website. It's a cost-effective way to make your website more interactive, and therefore also it helps you to increase, your ranking on Google. It's all about the customer journey, and we can help you to make that a smooth one. So imagine a world where you have that set up on your website. People click, yes, I would be interested in a video survey. I can see, here are the available slots, and I choose all of that, and I've booked that inquiry. You've taken an inquiry without anyone in your office actually speaking to the customer. Don't worry, you'll still receive, an email confirmation that you've had an inquiry, and you still have the chance, of course, to pick up the phone to the customer and say, oh, well, thank you very much. We have you scheduled with one of our video surveyors. Meanwhile, here are a few questions or a few things that I want to mention about the company, etc. So you won't lose control of the customer at any point. Then I guess the main advantages of you going digital, and this is where technology, as I said, comes into the sales process, is that with a few subtle changes, you'll be able to take more inquiries, quote on more moves, because you're outsourcing part of the quoting process. You'll be able to, you'll have time to do more follow-ups and book more jobs and achieve better margins. Now, onto my last talking point for today. Thriving on being busy. Is anyone here that relates to that? Makes that their sort of life motto. I thrive on being busy. I don't want to be bored. No business, get bored, etc. I'm not a lazy person myself either. But if there's one thing that I've learned through the years, Is that there is a fine line between thriving on being busy and actually being a bit of a busy fool. Because if you have to step in to take care of things within your company as they happen, you should have a process really, and there's technology that can help you streamline your organization, and you help you to work smarter, not harder, right? We all know that expression. So if you all take a step back from your business today, close your eyes if you want to, and just think of these scenarios that I'll mention to you now, to what happens to your company. So number one, your surveyor calls in sick at 8 in the morning. The phone keeps ringing, new customer inquiries keep coming in, but you have to tell them, like, our surveyor is booked for the next 2 weeks. There is a big volume dispute on a pack job, but you didn't send a nicely typed up digital inventory with your quotation to tell the customer this is what the quotation is based on, and you don't have a video record either. What do you do? What do you do when your crew lose 1 or 2 pages of the pack inventory, and the container door has been shut and it's on the way to Felixstowe Port, and you're missing 2 pages on the inventory? What do you do when you've received an import delivery that went via storage, and they're missing items, and you don't have a bingo checklist, you didn't have a barcode scanner, you don't have any records of that shipment being handled in and out of store, but there are 2 items missing? What do? You have an insurance claim, but you don't again have a clearly marked inventory that says that there was any pre-existing damage, and you sure don't have any pictures. Tricky, right? Now, I could carry on, but I'm sure that you've already heard a few things that you sort of can relate to. So remember that if your answer to any of the scenarios that I described was like, well, I'll step in, I'll leave my tasks and I'll jump in the car and I'll make sure that those surveys get done. I'll won't work in the office for the day, I'll go out with a crew and I'll make sure that all the jobs get done. You are not a contingency plan. As a business leader, your role is to manage your business. So you are therefore also not a busy fool. So make sure that you have plans in place. Embrace a bit of technology into the company, even though the industry that we work in will always the manual aspect of it will always be at its center point. But whether you're sitting here today as a young startup company, ambitious to grow, you're established but you're considering some restructure in your organization, a change of approach, you could be sitting here today having to have a good long hard look at your bottom line. You need to increase your profitability, or you're quite happy where you are and where your company will be for the next 5-10 years, and you're just happy to consolidate and maintain what you have. There are things that you can do to improve your business. So be it website optimization, be it widgets, a survey app, video surveys, digital inventories. Don't doze off. It's not Christmas yet. We still have a few weeks. Spend your time wisely now, for you to make a head start on 2023. Thank you. We'll take questions after Joshua's presentation. So thank you very much. Yes, Joshua.
Great, thanks Menno, appreciate it. So my name is Joshua Webb. I am the CEO of Calculates, the 3D space guides, and we do have a booth over there. And I can give you a lot more information if you do want to come by. But what I wanted to do here for this talk is actually talk to you about how we came up with Calculate, because Calculate came about because of us taking a look at our storage business and finding where we could be applying technology in better ways. So I'm not trying to use this segment to sell you large pieces of technology that may improve the business. I just wanted to give you examples of things we've done in real life, applying technology we already had at our means that was easily accessible, and made key business decisions based on that technology and the insights that we were able to gather from it. So to give you a bit of background, back in 2018, I joined this company in Australia called Taxibox as their marketing manager. Now Taxibox are portable storage, so they actually supply the units. They're about 35 square foot out to people's homes. They pack them up and then we'll whisk them away to the storage facility. So they're dealing with about 10,000 of these units across Melbourne, Brisbane, Sydney and Adelaide. So as you can imagine, there's quite a complex combination between trucks and forklifts and then also the warehousing space and booking the customers. They're also spending, this is in Aussie dollars, but over $1 million a year on Google Ads pay-per-click advertising and getting people to the website. So it's a huge structural process in order to get them from that point where they're first clicking to get to Taxibox's website, right through to actually getting the box delivered straight to their door. It requires a lot of technology and a lot of insight in order to make sure we're streamlining that process as much as we can. We actually have 31 questions that we need to ask the customer from the point where they get to the website to the point where we're comfortable enough to get their card details and take payment online on the website. So it's a long process and one that we need to make sure we're not creating fatigue for the customer and we're making it nice and easy for them, and also that it's relevant for them. And they're not living in Perth, they're not living in the UK and suddenly stumbling across a website and wasting time using a site or a service that's never going to be applicable to them. But despite all of that, we've actually found that over 2/3 of our customers are booking online and aren't speaking to a single member of staff. And in order to achieve that, we've had to utilize technology to target people, not just to get them to the website in the first place, but also to show them the best and most applicable way to get them through. So what I wanted to talk to you about is some of the tools that we use and how we gather the insights. Now the first thing and the first obstacle is actually getting them onto the website in the first place. And for that, we're predominantly using Google Analytics to get insights on the demographics and the kind of people that are visiting our website, visiting certain pages, and getting that data to start making these key decisions. If you haven't got Google Analytics already set up on your website, I'd highly encourage setting it up. It's not a complex tool once you're familiar with it, and if you do have web agencies looking after your website, they should be well versed on how to set this up for you. So to give you a couple of key examples for this, the first and foremost being the marketing channel. So by that I mean, have they come to the website for Taxibox through a paid click? Have they come to us because they've searched us on Google, searched local storage, portable storage, moving from Melbourne to Sydney? How have they got to us, and how can we use that in terms of the web page writing that we have, the copy that we have on the web page, to determine what it is that they're actually the service they need? Have they come to us from email? Is our email actually working? If we're sending out 2,000 emails every month, are we only getting a dozen people to the website in the first place? If so, what's wrong with our emails? Is it not engaging? Are we not saying the right things? What should we be doing in order to get more traffic driven from the emails that we're sending out every month? Likewise, Google Analytics will also tell you demographics based on who's coming to your website, and that can be age breakdowns, gender, the location. To give you a real world example for this one, so March 2020, Taxibox had their best ever month, which I'm sure might also be the same for a lot of you here as well. Record month for us in 11 years. April 2020, worst ever month. So we had to find out what on earth has caused that problem. COVID obviously being an impact, but how has that actually happened? How have we gone from one extreme to the other in the space of 45 days? I looked at Google Analytics and I saw that, unsurprisingly, the key demographic of 45 years plus were no longer coming to the website. We were so heavily tied to the housing market, which was just not existent at the time, that people just simply weren't booking in. That was the bad news, but what we'd also found is we had a 180% increase in the number of 18 to 24-year-olds that were coming to the website in that same space of time. Everyone was coming back from university, moving back in with mum and dad, and they needed somewhere to store their items in the interim while they were riding out the pandemic and lockdown. With that data, we were able to immediately change track, stop advertising to anyone older than 45, move all that spending and all that marketing budget to 18 to 24-year-olds, tell them how quick and simple we are, contactless delivery, we can deliver to university car parks. We managed to bring back May to have another excellent month, making those business changes using this data all within the space of 1 month. Likewise, desktop, tablet, and mobile, Google Analytics is going to give you that information. We're amazed to see just how many people are happy to book a taxi box on their mobile phone and run through every step. We thought it's a far more considered purchase. They're only going to want to do this on a desktop once they're home and they can run through and find all the information. Turns out they're more than happy to do this on their commute, on their way home, on their phone. So actually we can cut out a lot of the wording. A lot of it is unnecessary. They just want straightforward processes, nice, simple designs. So we could completely update our booking process to make it nice and mobile optimized. Again, we also found we can see how many people have come to the website for the first time versus the number of people that have come twice, 3 times, 4 times before they're comfortable enough to convert and actually book in the taxi box. Turns out 2/3 of the customers book on a return visit. So in which case we need to make sure that if we do gather their email addresses or contact details on that first session, we're reaching out to them as soon as possible, because we know just because they didn't book that first time, there's every chance they're going to come back 2-3 days later. Let's send them a couple of emails, maybe send them a coupon offer in one of those emails, and really incentivize them to come back and book in. And again, on that last one, as Menno touched on, when you're searching for certain key terms, you're going to be able to see that in Google Analytics as well. So if they've searched for cheap storage or cheap local moves or cheap A to B, then your website can be displaying most cost effective, cheapest in the area. Whereas if they're looking for secure storage, 24-hour access, find what the key search terms are that's causing them to land on your website, and make sure you're proving those and showing that that's what they've searched and that's what you offer. So why would they want to go anywhere else? Why would they want to go to one of your competitors? They're already giving you that information, and you can be able to apply that and push that through. So Google Analytics, looking at the people coming to your website as a whole, is a fantastic way to get insights and make key decisions that are going to help you in your business. Now, on the more granular side of that, you can also take a look at your customers themselves using, if you've got a customer relationship manager, if you've got something that handles the customers that you have or the information that the customer gives you. Heck, if you've just got a really good Excel file that keeps all that information stored, phone number, email address, postcode, all of that information you can then use and make key decisions from it. So for example, look at your conversions, look at your customers that have booked in with you. Are there any common trends there? Are there particular postcodes that, if you're like key postcodes, are those the postcodes you want to be marketing for? Would you prefer if they were more local? In which case maybe you can do a letter drop, or you can do something along those lines, sponsor a local football team in that area, the ones that you really want to be gaining those customers from. But take a look at what you have so far, and you can make a decision from that. Likewise, you can always ask the customer when they're booking in, what's the reason for storage, or what's the reason why they're moving? If there's common trends, you can then build that back out into your marketing. If they are downsizing, like we had with the students, we can then factor that in and have an email campaign going out to students in the area to try and see if that's still an applicable service for them. Likewise, and we did this with TaxiBox, I grabbed every customer of ours that's stored based on their move-in date for over 24 months, got 6,000 contacts, and then I took a look at them and started finding out where the key trends are, where are the popular suburbs. These are our key, most valuable customers, so what can we be doing from our processes, from our marketing, from our advertising, to actually be targeting these kind of people? It's these kind of cherry-picked customers that are the key ones for us. Maybe you want to be finding those nice 4, 5, 6-bed houses in Surrey. Those are the real money makers, so where are the common trends and what can you be doing there? On the flip side of this, and I know because my girlfriend's mum lives in Surrey, maybe you don't want to be targeting those certain people. Maybe they're your most problematic customers. And so how can you find ways to avoid those? Take a look at what you've got so far, all the information that your customers are giving you, and how can you be using that to get more of or less of those people. And likewise, and we do this with TaxiBox, and I would argue it's of more value to us than looking at the actual customers that have booked. We send an email to every person that gets an inquiry or gets a quote from us and then never books after 60 days, and therefore we call them the never books. They're dead leads to us. But that's not to say they can't be of use. We actually send them a survey. It's 5 or 6 basic questions. And it basically very frankly asked, look, it's not meant to be. Was there anything that was missing? Was there something we did or didn't say that could have led to a different outcome? We've had the most transparent, candid, upfront answers from people that have really helped us with the business, from we took too long to respond, so that increased the turnaround time for how quickly we'll email them back with an inquiry message, to, you know, unclear about your pricing structure, so we updated the pricing page, to simply your sizing didn't work for me, to decreasing a discount on multiple taxi boxes being booked. So incredibly valuable data from people that, you know, have no qualms with you know, being rude. They can give you exactly what you need. But like I say, it's almost as valuable, if not more valuable, than the customers that we have actually booked. It shows us what we're not currently doing. And yeah, to touch on that as well, with the surveys we do run, so we'll talk to the people we have booked, we'll talk to the people who haven't booked. We'll also send out surveys to unanimous people. So if we do a marketing campaign, if we want to see if things are working, if we want to know that people actually know about us and things are working correctly, you can send a survey out to target areas, to a specific city, and you can say, of these 6 storage companies or of these 6 moving companies, which ones have you heard of? If you have, how have you heard about them? Do they say billboard? Do they say radio? You know, you can benchmark what's going on and what's working for you. Have they received one of your emails? Again, they don't know that this is coming from you. They don't know this was coming from Taxibox, so they're quite happy to say, look, no, I've never heard of Taxibox. No, I've never seen their billboard campaign. In which case, why have we spent 5, 6, 7 grand on one of those billboards? It's clearly not working for us as a marketing promotion. So this is us using very simple, straightforward technology that's already at our disposal. We're not spending thousands and thousands every month just to kind of get this kind of data. It's all readily accessible, and it's a relatively normalized marketing cost. And it allows us to make really big, important decisions that help us grow the business and do things like invent Calculate. So we found, from looking at the website, from analyzing it, from talking to customers, talking to people that didn't book, that how much space do you need was the single most the most friction process in the whole booking setup that we had. It's something we needed to overcome. We were hoping that we could just purchase something and get something off the shelf and put it in, and that would solve our needs. But clearly customers just had no idea how much space they were going to need based on the items they wanted to put into the storage unit. So we had to build something. We created a storage calculator that would allow them to add every single item in their home. With a click of a button, they could see exactly how much space they were going to need and be able to book that straight in through our online process. They wouldn't have to call us up or drop in or any of that. It could just be part of our whole booking flow, and it was nice and straightforward. As soon as we added this to the website, we started taking a look. 3 months later, we found that 1 in 3 customers were only booking after using the calculator. Otherwise, they simply were dropping off the website. We also found that all our sales team members were starting to use this tool as well, without us necessarily telling them they should. This was the quickest path to converting a quotation that was coming through on the phone or a local walk-in. And we also found their online bookings increased by 26% simply by adding this calculator tool onto our website. This is something we wouldn't possibly have known to even invest time and money in had we not have looked at the data, had we not have looked at our web traffic, had we not found that this was a problem that we needed to overcome. And that's where Calculate came from. And the final thing I wanted to kind of leave you with is, and I know there's kind of a unspoken myth with technology that, you know, with all this data applicable at your hands, and we all know about how Facebook can target the dream that you had last night, and it can feel a bit seedy and a bit unwanted. The one thing I will say to that is, it really depends on the output and the way that you manage this data. You can go down the Facebook path, you can, you know, get under people's skin in that approach, but on the alternative side, you can have a lot of fun with it. This is key information, can make good business decisions for you, but you can also find ways to be creative and to maximize business decisions in a fun and jovial way. For example, a nice simple one for us, we can see if a customer books, but they haven't booked in any packing supplies, or they haven't booked in insurance as an upsell. Very simple email trigger, subject line is something along the lines of, have you thought about protection before our big date? You know, a bit on the nose, but it works really well. It's our single greatest upsell for selling packing supplies. nice and simple, has a link to the booking page. They can book in the packing supplies, add it to their taxi box delivery. And it's seamless, it's automated, and it requires no touch points from us. The emails just go out as soon as we see a booking that doesn't have any packing supplies added to the quotation. Likewise, skeleton in the closet. This is an add-on to Calculate. Holds no real value in terms of the calculation, but it was a bit of fun that we could add in, and it allows people, as they're clicking through what could be a very long process, adding every item in their house, it just breaks it up and makes the journey a bit more fun and a bit more memorable for them. We also have the little taxi bot, so we employed live chat onto the website, but instead of having it being very formulaic and very boring, why not have a little animated robot, kind of like the Microsoft Word pay-per-click, and it can come up with specific information. He can give you a coupon code because he likes you, when secretly it's because he's seen that you've gone to the pricing page and knows that maybe there's a friction point for you in terms of how much the taxi box costs, so we can mitigate that using the candid and jovial nature of using the taxi bot. And then finally as well, we have a small image at the bottom of the website from the Association of the Order of Storage Keepers, which if you actually try and click and find out what on earth the Order of Storage Keepers are, you'll find out that we in fact just made this up as a complete gimmick on the website. The reason we have this, however, is because we can see how many people have clicked this, and it's right at the bottom of the page. So we know how many people are getting to the bottom. We know how much they've seen of the information. Do we need to be putting more key information at the top of the page? Or do we only get 1 or 2 clicks onto that element every month or so, in which case we're probably fine with the structure that we have it as well. So it's a fun and engaging thing for the customer, but it has real business implications for us in terms of how we structure the information we give them and how we work it through them. So that was kind of how I wanted to sum up and basically say, look, there's a lot of technology at your disposal. It's inexpensive, very easy to handle, very easy to understand, and it can have some real key benefits and key wins, like we found with Calculate. And you can also have a lot of fun with it in how you implement it and how you bring more customers to your business that doesn't feel more like the seedy Facebook process. I think that's probably my key takeaway is don't be like Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. I wonder what shore porters would have thought in 1498. I guess they'd have used it if they had it available at that time. Does anybody have a question for any of the either of the guys? No? I just have one of my own. In fact, two, one each. With Survey Plus, or with anybody doing video surveys, I can understand how the moving company can train people to be able to do those surveys with the customer. But how do you make sure the customer is actually doing a proper job of showing you everything they should? Like, for example, what's in the loft or the garage or things like that. How do you handle that side of it?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's amazing how people sometimes forget that they have a loft, that they have a basement. That they have a shed. I mean, the list just goes on, or even that they have a self-store lockup unit. So it is down to experience. There's nothing else I can say. We all our surveyors have actual in-home experience. They have on average, 8 years experience of in-home surveying. I mean, I've got a bit more than that as per my presentation, but it is just experience, and a good surveyor. I mean, we don't actually consider ourselves to be surveyors. We're like move consultants, virtual move consultants, and that's where the company name also comes from. We're there to think along with the customer. We're there to think for the customer, to prompt them, ask them questions, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Bicycle perhaps, people that live in an apartment. Oh yeah, bicycle, I forgot about that. Where do you keep your holiday decorations? I haven't seen any in your wardrobes. Oh yeah, they're in the basement.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you come to the bottom of it, literally.
Yeah, okay. Right, one quick one for Josh. Calculate, how accurate is it? I mean, if you say, yes, we've got a 3-piece suite, not all three-piece suites are exactly the same size. So an armchair, for example, this armchair is much smaller than the one that I might have at home. How do you cope with that?
Yeah, that was a big concern for us with Taxibox when we first launched it, because if we were to be under or overestimating, it's almost worse than not having the calculator in the first place. So there was a lot of stress and strain and looking up measurements of different furniture suppliers and making sure the standardized model was as accurate as possible. But we also made sure in the 3-4 months after we launched it that we were looking at the calculator and seeing, okay, if the calculator recommended one thing and the customer booked in something else, what was the cause for that? So I was actually calling up the customer saying, what happened? Why did you book differently to what was recommended? It was only at the point where they started saying, I forgot about the cupboard under the stairs, or I ended up using my friend's garage for half of it, and then we could say, oh, you know what, that's real life getting in the way now. At this point, we feel comfortable enough with what we've got set up here that it can be rolled out across multiple sites regardless.
Okay. Thank you. Well, we're nearly out of time, but anybody got a question before we wrap it up? No? Okay. Well, thanks very much to you both for that very insightful. A lot of it went over my head, not being a techie person, but if anybody wants to see the guys on the stands, they've both got stands here, and you can watch the presentation back any time you like later on this week if you wish to do so. Thanks very much for coming.